What it do, my people? Thank you for choosing Total Payout Podcast, chilling with your host Trouble. Today's date, May 19th, Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. Start of the Eastern Conference Finals. We got the Knicks versus the Cavs. Cavs on the road in the Madison Square Garden to take on the New York Knicks. Gonna be a great series. If it's anything like the Western Conference Finals, it's gonna be a great series, man. So let's go ahead and take a look at these teams and see what we can come up with today, and see if we can go ahead and get a good handicap and go ahead and break the bank. Like I said, we got Cleveland on the road in New York. Head-to-head last 10. Cleveland is 6-4 straight up last 10 against New York. Cleveland is 7-3 against the spread last 10 against New York, and the under is 7-3 last 10. Now Cleveland is 4-1 against the spread last 5, 6-1 against the spread last 7 versus the Knicks, 2-6 against the spread last 8 away from home. They're 1-4 against the spread last 5 versus the Atlantic, and they're 19-29 against the spread away from home overall. Now New York is 6-1 against the spread last 7, 7-0 straight up last 7, 3-9 against the spread last 12 versus Central. They're 4-2 against the spread last 6 in May, and they're 31-15 against the spread at home overall. Now my personal line, I have New York -1. Vegas opened up at New York -7. Big spread there. Now, obviously, Cleveland, has an upper leg on New York right now. New York is on a mission. They're blowing everything out the water at home. They have been probably the most consistent team against the spread at home. They are probably the number one covering team in the NBA at home. Obviously, their kryptonite's on the road. And looking at the against the spread numbers, it looks like it's the same way for Cleveland at home. Juggernaut on the road, not so much. It's kind of tough in this game right here, man, because Cleveland coming off a 7-game series against Detroit, showed up big in game 7, whereas in the Knicks swept their series. So it's kind of tough for us to kind of look at the Knicks and believe that, they're going to fold against the Cavs. But I'm going to go ahead and take a flyer on the Cavs on the road plus this 7. I think I don't want to say it's a toss-up game. I don't want to say it's a toss-up series. But if you watch that San Antonio OKC game, when it comes to the playoff, man, there is a such thing as being out too many days, and there is a such thing as a team that's being in a fight, whether it be a playing tournament or whether it be a 6 or 7 game series when you're playing against a team who swept. Like I say, it's tough because you have that team still warm. They're still in a fight. They still have that repetition of battle, where another team is on a mini vacation in a sense. 7 days, 6 days off is a lot of days without competition. And then if you're not going 6 or 7 games in series previously to the series that you're going into, you're not getting challenged. So I put big stock into a team going 6 or 7. It might not look good in the grand scheme of things when if you should beat a team 4-1, 4-0, and you're going 6 or 7. But if you've never been through the fire, it's like a boxer. Just to kind of bring another analogy into basketball, just use some boxing. Sometimes you get a boxer who might go in there like a Tyson or like a Javante Davis, who goes out there and get somebody out right away, first round, second round, third round, and then when their resume build up and they get 15, 16 fights in, real boxing aficionados know you also looking at the rounds too, because that's the experience. If you're going in there knocking people out in the first round, it's cool, it looks good on a resume, but when you get into them championship bouts, them rounds matter, because now somebody's going to try to drag you into a 12-round fight. So I think that not knocking teams out 4-0 helps a team like a San Antonio Spurs, helps a team like Cleveland, who we know only other than James Harden has never been to the Eastern Conference Finals. These players, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared, they haven't been to this point of their career into this far into the playoffs. So the Knicks, they were in Eastern Conference last year, so they're looking at themselves like we one series away from being over that hump. And the Cavs are like, we're just happy to be here, in a sense that on paper, if it's just off history. But I do think that the Knicks, this is where I think that it's going to be a wash. It's coaching. I'm not a big Mike Brown fan. I don't think Mike Brown really uses his personnel the right way. I mean, you got to use what you got, so I don't want 100%, but we know Mike Brown's been carried in his career by great players, great players, whether it be on the bench in San Antonio and the bench of Golden State as an assistant, or a bench on the Lakers, being a coach in Cleveland. He's had some fortunate jobs of coaching some of the greats in the NBA, and so I'm not saying he don't have any greats, but I'm just saying that I don't think he uses this team sometimes 100%. And that's just my personal opinion with Mike Brown. I don't think Kenny Atkinson is 100% better than him. They basically come from the same tree, Steve Kerr. But I just think that Kenny has a better how can I say? He just had a better handle on what his team needs at certain times. Whereas in Mike Brown, I think his team has to overcome his deficiency as a coach. The other thing is OG gonna be 100%. We know he kind of went out of that last series against Atlanta, even though Atlanta, did still. I think they got one game out of that series. But I just think that not having OG in this type of environment, if he is playing, I mean, obviously, he's coming off the injuries coming off of. Most likely, he probably gonna try to give it a go. Been off for a while, but even if he does play, we know he's not going to be 100%. So, is that going to be a big hindrance to their game, because they can't replace OG Anunoby? Certain players on their team can be replaced, but OG is not one of them. I do like Cleveland's bench. Guard play more than anything over New York. I don't think either team has any type of down low presence coming off the bench. I think this is going to be which team has the best guard play coming off the bench. Give me a Dennis Schroeder. Give me a Jalen Tyson. Give me, I like what they got over there. A Sam Merrill. I mean, obviously the Knicks got, they got Deuce over there. They got Landry Shamet. But that's really about it. Let's be real. I mean, they're top heavy, if you want to be real. I mean, I can't think of anybody that I could say coming off the bench from New York that's heads and shoulders above what Cleveland has. I think obviously Donovan Mitchell has to match Jalen Brunson. That they have to go 30 for 30. If Jalen scores 25, Mitchell has to give you 25. Can Josh Hart match James Harden? Because that's pretty much going to be the match. I mean, they may put Josh Hart on Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell is more volatile than James Harden. He has the potential to erupt for more and bigger spurts than James. Even though James has the ball more, Donovan is more athletic and he can score more spots on the court at a more efficient and a more, how can I say, a more athletic rate. Where as in James Harden, everything is pretty much above the rim. Donovan can just go over the top of Josh Hart. He can go over the top of Jalen Brunson. But I do expect, or they might have Miles guarding Donovan Mitchell. But I just know at the end of the day, they might put Jalen Brunson on Max Strus. It's kind of, I can see what Mike Brown might try to do. The problem Mike Brown gonna have is if a Dennis Schroeder gets out there and gets loose, who's gonna guard him? Because if you got Dennis Schroeder out there getting busy the same way that Donovan Mitchell can get busy, we obviously know Jalen Brunson can get busy, but Cat needs to show up and give you that 20. Because if Evan's gonna do what he just did against Detroit, and you get a Jared Allen to show up, and OG Anunoby ain't gonna be a hurt. OG Anunoby ain't gonna be righteous, and they might just go ahead and slide Mitchell Robinson to the starting lineup, just like how Minnesota tried to slide Anthony Edwards off the bench the first game of the series. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Brown did that and went big, but then at the same time, you got OG coming off the bench, which obviously that's a great upgrade, and that wouldn't be a bad move for Mike Brown to make, to bring OG off the bench, because I don't think Cleveland can really counter that, honestly, to be real. Now, you can counter Mitchell Robinson off the bench, foul Hacker Robinson, just pretty much stagger his minutes with Jared, give Jared the first 4 minutes, take him out, Mitchell's going to come in the game about the 5-minute mark, let Jared get a couple minutes rest, and then as soon as Mitchell come in, you could do something like that. But if Mike Brown is smart, he would start Mitchell and let OG, if he's going to play, come off the bench, because you can't. Cleveland has no answer for OG off the bench. They don't need an answer for Mr. Robinson other than somebody who could body him up. And I'm not saying Evan can do it, but he can, in my opinion. So, but if you got both of them on the floor at the same time, it's just pretty much who got the better personnel and down low. I take Jared Allen and Evan Mobley over Mitchell Robinson and Cat any day of the week. I don't care. We can argue in the comments, do whatever you have to do. But I'm taking them two over them two, because Mitchell Robinson becomes a liability at. They don't even wait till the fourth quarter. They do Hacker Robinson in the first quarter. So it is what it is. But with that being said, me running my mouth trying to just let it linger out a little bit, I'm taking Cleveland +7 game 1. It's going to be another series. I'm not calling Cleveland money line in this series. I'm not that bold like I did in San Antonio. But what I will take is Cleveland +1.5. I do think Cleveland can win 3 games in this series. I do believe they can win 3 games in this series. I do believe they can steal game 1. I believe that as well. I will sprinkle a couple dollars on Cleveland money line game 1 with the +7, just like San Antonio. I do expect Cleveland to come out with the same type of tenacity, with the mentality, because this is going to be their first road game of the playoffs. That's going to be their first chance to steal a road game. So it's a different mindset. It's a different role. You're not the honey. You're hunting now. So now New York has been in this role every series, just like Cleveland has. But now Cleveland has an extra incentive of going out there and trying to start off a series in a driver's seat, instead of having the pressure of not losing. They put the pressure on New York. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on that rest versus the team being in the battle. That's 1 to 2 days too many. I'm expecting Mike Brown to fumble the bag a little bit by messing it up. I gave him the game plan, but he's going to start OG Anunoby, and he probably going to do exactly what OKC did and run OG Anunoby through the ground, with Jalen Williams probably playing over 40 minutes. I'm not saying that it hurt him or anything, but I guarantee it's going to come back to hurt him, because they're down. So now you got to push them through the ground even more, because you can't go down 2-0. So I expect Mike Brown to fumble that and start OG, just because he can't help himself. And I expect that to actually hinder New York in this first game. So we're going to take Cleveland +7 in this first game. And like I say, for the series, we're taking Cleveland +1.5 games. So all we got to do is get to 3 games, and we guaranteed that bet. So we just need Cleveland to go ahead and come through and take this first game. And we just got to win 2 home games, and we're good. So like I said, Cleveland +7, game 1, Cleveland +1.5 for the series. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Total Payout Podcast, chilling with your host Trouble. Today's date, May 19, 2026. Good Tuesday. Great day. Game 1 Eastern Conference. So let's go, man. Let's go ahead and get to it. Please give me a like, comment, or subscribe. I do appreciate that. I appreciate you guys giving me a couple minutes out your day. Like I said, it's 24 hours in a day. You guys give me a couple minutes out your day. It's thankful. A lot of things you could be doing. A lot of different people you could be listening to. I appreciate it. And once again, like I said, I appreciate you guys giving me your time. And please stay out the way, man. Just live to see another day. Thank you.
Hey, Rick and Thad.